Hello again and welcome back to the homestead. Noise you hear behind me is the elderberry still in the dehydrator. We were blessed yesterday evening with 5 cases of itty-bitty milks from a friend, and I decided to can them. And I've got 3 batches left. This is my third to the last batch, and I thought, you know what? It's not an approved method. If you do this on your own, but I'm going to show you how I do it to make your milk shelf stable. By the time I get done canning all of this, we should have about 70 quarts in case of an emergency. So I thought I'd just take you along with me. I'm doing it anyway. You may as well come with me. Come on, let's go. Okay, hopefully you can hear me all right. Once again, I'm trying this from a different angle. My kitchen's really awkward, and I just keep trying different angles to try to find the best way for you to see what I'm doing. I have an All-American 921 canner. It'll hold 7 quarts or 18 pints. The last batch I did, I actually did in pints just to kind of save on some of my quart jars, but now we're going to go back to quarts. If you're familiar with this canner, there shouldn't be too many things I need to discuss with you on it. Make sure that you put some sort of a lubricant around the top of the inside and the lid. I just use petroleum jelly. You need 3 quarts of water in the bottom of this. And always make sure that your steam spout, I'm not sure what the technical term is clear. And your plug is in good condition. And always use the right pressure on your gauge. We're going to do 10 pounds of pressure today. I already have most of these jars full. Oh, another thing. Your canner needs to be cold. This is going to be totally different than what you normally do. Everything is normally all heated up and ready to go. Your jars need to be cold. Your milk needs to be cold. Your canner, your water, everything starts off cold. And then we're going to bring it all up to temperature together. Okay? So let's get this last little bit of milk in here. I'll show you in a minute this crazy pile of these little cartons that we're going to have to dispose of. Takes approximately 3 to 4 for each quart. They're not evenly measured out, but that's okay. We use them anyway. There's a little extra. It's not going to hurt nothing. We'll use it for something. Another thing I have not done with this canner is I did not put vinegar in the water like I normally do. So I've had to wipe off all of my jars. I started this process yesterday. There goes my throat. And my kitchen's a mess, y'all. If you see something, don't think none of it. It's just a total nightmare right now. Anyway, I stayed up till 2 o'clock in the morning canning this milk. And then got up and started again. And I feel like I'm in the home stretch. So, because each time, between each batch, I only have the 1 canner. I'm having to cool everything down before I can start the next round, and that's a little bit time consuming, but it's going to be worth it. Another thing that you may want to consider when canning milk is this was given to us, so it's 1%. Once your milk is canned, it becomes a little bit richer. This 1%'s, I don't know, maybe going to be like a 2%. 2% will be like a whole milk. Whole milk will be creamy. It will change. It's not going to be exactly like it is in the carton. It can be used for a variety of things. It's shelf stable. If you want to drink it out of the jar, I thought I felt a little something. Always make sure there's no nicks or anything on your rings. Anyway, if you want to drink it out of the jar, refrigerate it first. Some people even shake it up a little bit first and then put it in the refrigerator. There's different methods. And like I said, this is finger tight. This is not an approved method by any government organization. So do this at your own risk. I guess you call this rebel canning, right? There's even a group on Facebook. There's a YouTube channel called Rebel Canners. It's a good channel. Go check that out. Lots of good info. But I mean, when you get a bunch of free milk, you're not going to waste it, right? This ring here's a little wonky, but I think it's fine. Alright, I've already got my water in here. There's no need to use the jar lifter because everything's nice and cool. We're just going to set them in carefully. Even though it's cold, you still don't want to bump them and smack them around. Not a good idea, man. That would be Miss Ruthie. She's tired of being in the kennel. She's been in the kennel for a while today. So if you hear a noise, that's her. There's elderberries in the background. We live here. There's stuff going on. Okay. I still have quite a bit. I'm going to move you just a hair closer, I think. Try to. Like I said, this is an attempt. Okay. I still feel like I have plenty of petroleum jelly on there. Check both of them. You have an arrow on your lid. You have a little notch here. This helps you to set your lid appropriately, okay? Just like that. They line up. That's how you know you've got it right. You're going to take your opposite. I don't even know what these are. Little bolts, nuts, whatever. And you're going to kind of torque them down. You want your lid to be on as level as possible. I do it by feel. I used to get down there and look at it, but I do it by feel. And if for some reason you're using this canner and it starts to kind of spit out one side or the other, that's because your lid is not level, and it happens to everybody. Just shut her down, wait till it cools off, wait till it cools off for sure. Fix it again. So I get it good and tight. Make sure my canner's where I want it. My stove's even a mess. And feels pretty level to me. Okay, now, like I said, everything is cold. Cool as a cucumber, right? So now I'm going to turn my stove on, and I'm going to turn it on high, and I'm going to start bringing up the steam in here. And when it gets good and steaming, I'll bring you back. You want to see a mess? Look at this mess. This is in the middle of my kitchen floor. I have this box and this little bit left to go, and all of these, and we've actually already thrown out a box of cartons. And then there's some of our milk, and I have milk over in the other counter in the other room. And I told you, my kitchen's a mess. We live here. Steam's coming out pretty steadily. I don't know if you could see it or not, but you should be able to hear it. There's the valve. It's coming up. We're going to set this. This is a weight. This is not a gauge. A while ago I called it a gauge. This is a weight. We're going to set it on 10 pounds of pressure. I use an oven mitt because I'm not a big fan of getting a little scalded. So we're going to drop it. There you go. Now that it has sit on here, the gauge is over here, and I'm going to watch this. Once this gauge hits 10 pounds of pressure, I'm immediately going to shut my stove off. And we're going to let it cool all the way back down. Once that process is completed, I'll bring you back and show you the next step. We are almost up to 10 pounds of pressure. We're right at it. That's my little doodle buggy here. I cannot remember if I mentioned a while ago, but before I put this weight on, I did vent this for 5 minutes. Now, do your own research. I know people that vent it anywhere from 2 minutes to 10 minutes, or even longer. I vent for 5 minutes, and I can't remember if I told you that the last time, so I wanted to make sure I got it this round. Anyway, we actually just hit 10 pounds of pressure, so I'm going to shut it off. Now that it's shut off, we're not going to touch this. We're not going to mess with it. We're not going to move it. We're going to let it cool all the way down to where the pressure's on 0, and we're still not going to move this weight for at least another 10-15 minutes after the pressure hits 0. Okay? Then, I typically kind of just test the weight to see if anything comes from it. And if it doesn't, then I will lift it. And we'll show you the next step. Alright. Might be a little bit there. I thought it was done, but it did make a little noise. I think it's ready, though. We'll find out, won't we? There you go. It was ready. Now, we're basically going to do the same pattern that we did the first time. We're just going to go the opposite way. And drop them. Drop them. And it just released. You kind of feel a little give and you hear a little something something. It's not a big deal. It's just where the lid kind of gives. always turn away from your face. But we're not even going to do that here. We're just going to carefully take it. I'm going to tip my lid, and I'm going to let some of this out, and just give it a few minutes before I take the jars out. While I'm giving that time, well, I thought I had a kitchen towel, but it doesn't look like I do. Let me find a kitchen towel. Got my clean towel to set my jars on. That just helps with insulating the heat. Doesn't put it directly on the counter. Just a good idea, okay? Now, it's still pretty hot. We're going to go ahead and lift the lid. Some steam might still come out. It's not a problem at all. If your water has a little bit of the color from the jars, and this is for any pressure canning, don't wig out. It's just one of those things. Alright, here we go. Ta-da! Look at that. Not very good lighting, but can you see it? Set it over here. And like I said, because it was milk that I was canning this time around, I did not put vinegar in my water. Because we have hard water here, we just have our own well, I'm going to have to now wipe these jars off once they sit. I'm not going to move these jars until tomorrow morning. It's about 4:30 in the afternoon right now. That gives them plenty of time to sit. Once they're done, they're cooled off, they're sealed, and tomorrow morning comes, I'm going to take the bands off. I'm going to wipe down my jars well. Ping. And I'm going to label the tops of my lids. 1% milk and the date. And then they're shelf stable. Now, as far as how long they will be shelf stable, with this not being an approved method, here, let me move you up since, you know, we're done now. Hello. With this not being an approved method, it's basically a matter of personal experience and people that you have spoken to, or people like in our groups or on other channels. But I have read from other people's accounts that they have they've drank this milk at 3 years old and it's perfectly fine. So depends on the conditions, depends on if the temperature is consistent, if it's not too hot or not too cold. You can't stick it out in the shed or anything like that. That should be common sense, but just threw that out there. At any rate, that's a great way, especially if you have little ones. We have a grandbaby. We have a son who's still pretty young. This is a great way to have some milk for an emergency purpose. Whether it's a storm, power outage, what have you, you don't have to worry about having milk in the refrigerator because you've got some on the shelf. Alrighty. Let me see if there's a boy that wants to come send us off. Hey, Jesse! Hang on, he says. Anyways, thank you guys for joining me today. If you enjoy these videos, give us a blah, blah, blah. That's the first time I've ever done that, and I messed it up. If you enjoy our videos, well, give us a like and a subscribe. We're still new to this. We're only a few months old, and we just take you along and do what we do. Anyway, take care of each other. Do what you can right where you are.
Psalms 34 verse 8, O taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man that trusteth in him.
Bye.
Bye.
Still bubbling. Have a great day.